welcome to this channel. Don't forget to like, to share, and also to subscribe to our channel. In the news, women groups slam Senator Natasha Akpabio over obstinate posture, say her conduct is a national embarrassment. A coalition of women-led organizations has come down hard on Senator Natasha Akpabio, describing her recent conduct as unbecoming, contemptuous, and a national disgrace to the cause of women in leadership across Nigeria. The group's Coalition for Democracy Women in Leadership, led by Ambassador Sarah Bulus and the Northern Women Integrity Forum, headed by Hajia Amina Suleiman, issued a joint statement on Wednesday condemning what they termed as Senator Natasha's relentless slights against the system and her unrestrained contempt for constituted authority. The groups, which represent a cross-section of women advocates and democratic stakeholders in northern Nigeria, said they were deeply appalled by the senator's gross stain on the credibility and dignity of Nigerian women. Natasha's actions are despicable, non-signifying, and stand as a poor representation of Nigerian women in leadership. The statement read, "She has continuously chosen the path of confrontation rather than constructive engagement." The backlash follows a recent court verdict that found Senator Akpabio guilty of contempt of court and imposed a fine on her. A judgment the groups say validates a long history of defiance and unrepentant recalcitrance. No one is above the law, and Natasha's repeated brushes with legal institutions reflect a disturbing pattern of impunity, said Ambassador Bulus. For someone elected to represent the people, it is unfortunate that her legacy is fast becoming a case study in arrogance and institutional disrespect. The women leaders stressed that their criticism was not political but moral and principled. "We are not speaking out because she is a political opponent or from another party," that added Hajia Suleiman. "We are raising our voices because she is a woman like us who is bringing ridicule to the values we stand for: integrity, respect, dignity, and responsible leadership." According to them, Natasha's disposition is diametrically opposed to the values many Nigerian women have spent decades fighting to instill in the public space: transparency, humility, and service above ego. The coalition warned that if women in public office continue to behave in such a manner, it could set back decades of advocacy for gender parity in governance. When one woman fails this way, society unfairly judges us all. That is why we cannot remain silent, they said. Senator Natasha, who represents Kogi Central in the Nigerian Senate, has yet to officially respond to the court's ruling or the backlash from the women's group. However, her supporters have often defended her as a bold voice against oppression, even as critics say she frequently crosses the line of decorum and due process. Meanwhile, civil society groups are calling for Senator Akpabio to either tender a public apology or face continued resistance from fellow women who feel betrayed by her actions. As one member of the coalition concluded, leadership is not about ego or grandstanding. It is about humility, service, and respect for the rule of law. Natasha must wake up to this truth before she drags the rest of us further into disrepute. Well, the women in question have clarified the fact that they are not speaking politically and they are not trying to be, watching brief for some politicians, maybe the likes of the Senate president and the former governor of Kogi State. But they are particular about the fact that Natasha is a woman in leadership. And I want us to look at it even in a general broad term, not only women in leadership, including the men. There's need for us to understand what these women have, stated here. Because if the court of law could accuse and then say that Natasha is, being, accused of, contempt of the court and trying to, she was fined with about 5 million naira, and she needs to also tender public apology according to the women of this coalition, I think there's need for us to really look inward, really, as regards leadership in this country. Okay, from the perspective of a woman, their points are clear that you don't need to, be arrogant or grandstand when it comes to getting your job done. Ego is not really needed because they say leadership is about humility, not about ego. It's about service and respect for the rule of law, not about grandstanding, which is very, very important. And they are trying to call attention of Natasha to the fact that she needs to wake up to this truth before she begins to drag every other woman even further into disrepute. And I also say that even all our leaders need to know this so that they don't drag this nation into disrepute. Very, very important. And this coalition of women are asking Natasha for public apology. Of course, it's not going to be a good thing, really, for the court of law to have given a judgment, and impose a fine on Natasha. And that particular judgment, the coalition says that validates her long history of defiance and unrepentant recalcitrant. I don't think that is good for any leader. If you try to take a decision and it seems the decision is anti-people, and you know that it's not, people are not reacting based on sentiment and they are reacting based on reality, and then all you could do is to refuse to listen to them, that is not leadership at all. That is, tyranny, and you don't have to do that. So anyone that comes to leadership should be able to understand the principle of service. You are there to serve the people, not to judge them. You are there to work for them, not to steal from them. These are very, very important. In fact, these women, indicted Natasha of being defiant. I don't know what a leader wants to do with being unnecessarily there, heady, and then not wanting to change. If you take a decision and it seems as if the decision is not all right, the onus lie on you to be humble enough and also to take a U-turn and you apologize to the people, because they knew they are the one that brought you there, and they know it's not easy because the position of power comes with its own burdens, and uneasy lies a head that wears the crown. But for a leader to now, like they were saying as about Natasha, now that he has continuously chosen the path of confrontation rather than constructive engagement, I think our leaders need to look into that. You engage, you lobby, you look for dialogue, and then solve the matter. At least we can see some of that in the the committee that made policy, fiscal policy committee, that came out with the tax reform, how they, explained the matter when there was resistance, and today the something has seen the light of the day. Let's learn from this. Don't forget to like, to share, and also to subscribe to our channel. Give us your thumbs up.